We're in Psalm 146 today, and I don't know if you ever read, you know those books you had as kids where you got to a certain page and it said, if you think the answer is this, you go to page 3. If you think the detective did this, you go to page 11. And there was like 4 or 5 different options that could take you in different directions in the story. Psalm 146 feels a bit like that. There's so many different directions, good directions that it pulls us in. It's almost like, which way do we turn? We could rightly, just listen to verse 1, which you'll hear in a minute, we could rightly spend or flow from Psalm 146 into a time of praise and worship. This is a psalm of praise. Or when you hear verse 2, we could easily move into a time of rightly recommitting ourselves to the King and the kingdom. This is a prayer of commitment. I'm fully in. Or as you'll read in verses 3 and 4, we could ponder and reflect on where we're putting our trust at the moment. Are we trusting in God, or are we trusting in other stuff that actually at some point will catch us out? Or when you hear verses 5 to 7, we could spend time reflecting on the character of God and how we can always hope in him because he's reliable. He's always true to himself. There's too many options to take, but we're going to do none of those. Instead, what happens in verses 7 to 9 is that the psalmist reels off a list of 10 things that the Lord does. And that's helpful to us because when we know what the Lord does, we know that we can ask him for those stuff. It's like, Lord, you say you do that, prove it. And this list of 10 then is really helpful when it comes to interceding for our own lives and for the world around us. This, for me, verses 7 to 9, functions as a really helpful intercession list. That when we've got the time, we can work our way through slowly or even quickly, going, Lord, you say this, so can you prove it? Lord, you say you do that, we'd love to see more of that. It's just a really helpful prayer tool, I hope. So I'm going to read Psalm 146, and then I'm going to list the 10 things. And then I'm going to invite you to spend some time, having read Psalm 146 again, to intercede for yourself and for the world around you. Let's give this a whirl, shall we? Praise the Lord, O my soul. I will praise the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praises to my God while I have my being. Put not your trust in princes, in a son of man in whom there is no salvation. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish. Blessed is he whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord our God, who made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, who keeps faith forever, who executes justice for the oppressed, who gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets the prisoners free. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord watches over the sojourners. He upholds the widow and the fatherless, but the way of the wicked he brings to ruin. The Lord will reign forever. Your God, O Zion, to all generations. Praise the Lord. So here are these 10 things that I find really helpful that remind us of the sort of priorities or the things that the Lord loves to be about, that we can use as places from which to intercede. The Lord executes justice for the oppressed. Reminds us there are many oppressed around us in the world. We need to ask, Lord, show your justice. The Lord gives food to the hungry. We live in a world where the few have too much and many don't have enough. It invites us to pray into that and reflect on our own place in that. The Lord sets the prisoners free. We ourselves and those around us experience being trapped in sins and habits and addictions that just ruin us. But he's in the business of setting people free, so we get to intercede for that. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. There are many people who are sick and unwell and physically suffering. But he's a God of healing, so we get to pray for that. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. We're living in a time where mental health is causing people just to feel bowed down under the weight of life, but he's the one who picks us up, so we get to pray for that. The Lord loves the righteous. Sometimes choosing the right options in life is hard and costly, but we know that the Lord loves people who do that, so we can pray for them to experience his love. The Lord watches over the sojourners, those who feel kind of homeless in some ways. We know the Lord watches over them. We can pray for that. The Lord upholds the widow and the fatherless, those who feel like they haven't got a family or they've lost their loved ones. The Lord upholds them. We can pray for them. But the way of the wicked he brings to ruin. Number 10 on this list. The Lord is in the business of stopping those whose hearts are set on evil, being able to deliver on that evil. We can pray for him to do that. Here's a list of 10 things that we know the Lord is in the business of doing, so we can bang on his door and say, Lord, show us these things. So have a read of Psalm 146 and let's get interceding for the world. God bless.